Good morning, students. So today we will cover the gravitational motion chapters, two laws, that is Kepler's planetary law, Kepler's law of planetary motion, and Newton's law of gravitation. Okay, so let us start it. Put the date today. And let us start with a positive thought, that is, wake up in the morning with determination and go to bed at night with satisfaction. Okay? Wake up in the morning with determination and go to bed at night with satisfaction. Okay, bachcho? So let us start. That is Kepler's law of planetary motion. Kepler's law of planetary motion. Kepler's laws of planetary motion. Okay, so Kepler formulated three laws regarding planetary motion. First law, law of orbit. Second law, law of aerial velocity or law of velocity. And third law, that is law of time period or harmonic law. Okay, so first one was law of orbit. Second one, law of velocity or aerial velocity. And third law, that is law of time period, law of time period or harmonic law. Harmonic law. Out of these three laws, first law is completely descriptive law. It is not mathematical law. Okay, so what is the first law? The planets are revolving around sun in elliptical orbits with sun situated at one of its foci. Planets are revolving around sun in elliptical orbits with sun situated at one of its foci. Okay, so how the planets are revolving around sun? First law, that is planets are revolving around sun in elliptical orbits with sun situated at one of its foci. So this is elliptical orbit. Circle having radius. In case of elliptical orbit, there are two axes. One is called semi-major axis. This is major axis, and half of it is called semi-major axis. And the smaller one is called minor axis, and half of it is called semi-minor axis. Semi-minor axis. Okay? So half of the semi-major axis and right side, left side, that is half of the semi-major axis. This one called foci, one foci, and another one called the second foci. So sun may be situated here or may be situated here for any of the planet. Okay? So these two are the position of the sun. For one of the planet, the position of the sun may be F1, and for any other planet, the position of the sun be F2. So planets are revolving around sun in elliptical orbit with sun situated at one of its foci. Suppose this is the position of sun. In case of Earth, this is the position of sun. Okay? The planet Earth is revolving around like this. Okay? So this elliptical orbit, suppose this is Earth, and the planet revolving around sun in such orbits, elliptical orbit. So this shows the elliptical orbit is the region behind change of season throughout the year. Now the summer season is going on, so probably the planet is nearer like this, in this region. Okay, during winter season, the planet is nearer this end. Okay, suppose this is the position of the sun. Okay, so elliptical orbit shows that the change of season throughout the year. Earth takes 365 days to rotate around sun, and the change of the season is responsible for this orbital motion of Earth around sun. Okay, so let us come to the second law. Second law is called the law of aerial velocity. Law of aerial velocity or law of velocity. So according to the second law, planets are revolving around sun in such a way that it sweeps equal area in equal time interval. It sweeps equal area in equal time interval. Okay? So planets are revolving around sun in such a way that it sweeps equal area in equal time interval, or the radius sweeps the equal area in equal time interval. So let us discuss how it happens. So suppose this is the orbital, that is the orbit of the planet. If sun situated at one of its foci F1, this is the position of the sun. So, and this is the radius. That is the planet. Suppose R. So when it is at this position, its motion is such a way that during time interval E1, E2, during time interval, same time interval, that is T1 to T2 is same. When the time is here is T1, here it is T2. And at this position, the time is E3. Time is T3 and position is E3. And at this position, time is T4 and position is E4. According to this law, the planets cover equal area in equal time interval. Okay? So mathematically you can say that if T2 minus T1 is equal to T4 minus T3, then E1 is E2 area is equal to E3 is E4 area. So it is nearly mathematical law. So this area is equal to this area. So what does it imply? Now when the planet is nearer to the sun, its velocity is more. And when it is far away from sun, its velocity is less. So this indicates that is the velocity of the planet around sun is non-uniform. Okay? The velocity of, so this implies the velocity of sun, velocity of the planet, velocity of the planet around sun is non-uniform. Okay, when it is nearer to sun, the velocity is more, and when it is far away from sun, the velocity is very less. Let us discuss the third law. Kepler's third law. What does it call? That is law of time period or harmonic law. Okay? So third law is called law of time period or harmonic law. Planets are revolving around sun in such a way that square of its time period. It is purely mathematical law. So square of its time period varies. Square of its time period varies as cube of its semi-major axis. So you know, in case of elliptical orbit, so this one is called semi-major axis. So semi-major axis let it consider as R. Square of its its time period, that is time taken for one complete revolution. So that is called capital T. So according to third law, that is law of time period by harmonic law. So T square proportional to RU. So it will imply T1 by T2 square is equal to R1 by R2 U. So this is purely mathematical law and it is called harmonic, law of harmonic. Law of harmonic means this, when time period is T1, it is proportional to R1. When time period is T2, it is proportional to R2. When T1 is equal to T2, then R1 is equal to R2. Okay? So this is all about Kepler's laws of planetary motion. Newton gave his famous law on gravitation, that is regarding the force of heavenly bodies. So according to Newton, the way in which the magnet, two opposite poles of the magnet attract and the same poles repel. In case of charge, the opposite charges attract each other. Similar charges attract and dissimilar charges repel. In the same way, in case of heavenly bodies, all the heavenly bodies attract. There is no repulsion. Okay? So Newton's famous law of gravitation, Newton's law of gravitation. Newton's law of gravitation. So according to this law statement, all heavenly bodies, all heavenly bodies attract each other. All heavenly bodies attract each other. The force of attraction varies. The force of attraction. The force of attraction varies directly as the product of their masses, as the product of their masses, and inversely as the square of distance between them. Inversely as the square of distance between them. That is why it is also called the inverse square law. Newton's inverse square law. It directly at the product of the masses and inversely at the square of distance between them. So mathematically you can write, if force of attraction between two heavenly bodies is Fg, then it is proportional to M1, M2. So M1 is one heavenly body and M2 is another heavenly body, and the radial distance between them is R. Radial means that includes radius, center to center distance. It is not tangential, it is radial. Tangential means from the end. Here it is radial. So Fg proportional to m1 m2 and proportional to 1 by r square. So this implies, these two implies Fg is equal to G m1 m2 by r square. So this is the mathematical form of Newton's law of gravitation. Here G is the proportionality constant. It is called universal gravitational constant. Universal gravitational constant. It is called universal gravitational constant. Why universal? Now throughout the world, throughout any place, invariably its value is same. Its value remains constant everywhere. That is why it is called the universal gravitational constant. So let us discuss about the universal gravitational constant. So what is the definition, unit and dimension of universal gravitational constant? Okay. So definition. What is the value? First is value. What is the value of universal gravitational constant? We know F is equal to G m1 m2 by r square. Then G is equal to F r square by m1 m2. The value of universal gravitational constant is 6.67 into 10 to the power minus 11 Newton meter square by gram square. So Newton meter square by kg square in mks, and its value, that is, it is in SI or MK system, and its value is 6.67 into 10 to the power minus 8 9 centimeter square by gram square, that is in CGS system of units. So this is the value of, that is universal gravitational constant, and its unit from it you can write unit, that is in SI system, MK system it is Newton meter square by kg square, and in CGS system its unit is Dine centimeter square by gram square. Okay, let us now find out the dimension of G. You know there are some constants which are dimensional constant and some constant they are non-dimensional constant. The constant which possesses dimension are called dimensional constant, and the constant whose dimension is 0, 0, 0, that is m0, l0, t0, without any dimension, that is called non-dimensional constant. So what is the value, unit, then dimension of G? So what is the value of power of m, l and t? We know G is equal to F r square by m1 m2. So what will be the dimension of G? Dimension of G is equal to dimension of F r square m1 m2. Here dimension of force. Dimension of force is m1 l1 t minus 2. R is the distance, so dimension is L2, and m1 is the mass, m2 is also mass. So m to the power 2. So what will be the dimension of G? Bacho? That is m to the power 1 minus 2. That is m minus 1. L power, here it is 1, here it is plus 2. That is L3. And T, here there is no T. So power of T is minus 2. Hence, the dimension of gravitational constant is m minus 1, L3, T minus 2. Okay? So that is all about Newton's law of gravitation and Kepler's 3 laws of planetary motion. Okay? So thank you all. Bless you. Thank you all.